He was convicted for a crime he didn't commit and sentenced to 25 years in prison, but he was innocent. He always maintained his innocence, even when all the evidence was stacked against him. This man had no other choice but to escape. In this video, we will see a man who escaped prison because of his innocence and was forced to run from the police for the rest of his life. Our wrongfully accused protagonist, Marcus Wallen, was sitting alone in his cell, thinking about how he would one day get out of there. It had been 10 years since he was convicted for a crime he did not commit, sentenced to 25 years in prison. And if he were to behave himself, he would be eligible for parole in 5 years. But he knew that even then, they would only let him out with a GPS ankle monitor. And after that, he would still have 15 years left to serve. So he needed a foolproof plan to get out, a plan that would allow him to start a new life without looking back. He decided to write down everything he needed for his plan. First, he would need forged documents. Second, he would need a car to get away. Third, he would need someone to help him pull off the escape. He had the first 2 items already secured. His cellmate, Big Tony, was getting released on parole in 6 months, and he had managed to bribe a prison guard for forged ID. The third item was the hardest. As days turned into weeks, Marcus kept thinking of ways to get in contact with someone outside the prison walls. Finally, he came up with an idea. One day while in the prison yard, Marcus approached a man he knew worked for the prison's laundry service. The man's name was Frank, and he seemed like a nice guy. Marcus had done odd jobs for him in exchange for cigarettes, so he thought he had a chance. He offered Frank some cash and asked him to look into something for him. Frank agreed, and that was the first step of Marcus's escape. Meanwhile, Detective Miller was working on the case of Marcus's crime. It was an open and shut case. The evidence was strong, and witnesses placed Marcus at the scene of the crime. It was pretty clear that he was guilty. However, recently, the chief of police had been acting weird, going through old cases and reopening them. So Miller figured it was only a matter of time before Marcus's case was reopened too. One night, while reviewing the evidence against Marcus, Miller noticed something peculiar. The fingerprints on the gun used in the crime were smudged, almost as if someone had tampered with them. This was strange because every piece of evidence against Marcus had been meticulously collected and stored. Someone had messed with the evidence, but who and why? Was Marcus really innocent? The next day, Miller went to interview Marcus in prison. "I want to ask you again, Marcus. Why were you at the scene of the crime?" Marcus looked at him and calmly replied, "Because I was framed." "What do you mean framed?" "Someone put that gun in my hand and told me to pull the trigger. Then they planted the drugs in my car and set up my house for the raid." "Would do such a thing, Marcus? I don't know. I swear to God I am innocent. If you look into it, you will find out. I have investigated this case thoroughly, Marcus. You are guilty." "No, I'm not. Beg you, detective. Please find out the truth. Please." Marcus was crying, begging for Miller to believe him. And for a moment, Miller saw doubt in his own investigation. Maybe Marcus was telling the truth. After visiting Marcus, Miller decided to dig deeper into the case. He revisited the crime scene, re-interviewed the witnesses, and checked every piece of evidence. To his surprise, he found inconsistencies in every part of the investigation. The witnesses' stories had changed. The evidence had been tampered with. The whole case was a mess. On the other hand, Marcus had been keeping busy. Every day in the prison yard, he exercised, trained his mind, and prepared his body for what was to come. He also befriended the prison tailor, who would help him escape. As the day of the escape approached, Marcus felt a mix of excitement and fear. He was about to embark on one of the most dangerous adventures of his life. The day finally arrived. Marcus and Big Tony made their way to the tailor shop. The tailor handed Marcus a bag and told him to run, but they had been spotted. An alarm had been raised and a manhunt was underway. Marcus knew that if the police caught him, he would be sent back to prison and possibly face additional charges. He was not ready to go back. He had come too far and had too much to live for. They drove for hours until they reached a small town where no one knew Marcus. Big Tony dropped him off at a motel and disappeared into the night. Marcus paid for a room using the forged ID and made himself comfortable. But he couldn't shake off the feeling that he was being watched. The next morning, he woke up early, checked out of the motel, and disappeared into the town. He knew that the police were closing in on him, and he had to keep moving. Couldn't stay in one place for too long. As the days turned into weeks, Marcus moved from town to town, always staying one step ahead of the police. He had to change his appearance regularly, shaving his beard and cutting his hair so that no one would recognize him. The money he had stolen wasn't enough to last forever, so he had to find a job. He got odd jobs here and there, working as a waiter, a construction worker, and a janitor, but he never stayed at one place for too long. He always had to keep moving, always had to be one step ahead of the law. Years went by and Marcus became a master of disguise. He could blend into any crowd, any city, anywhere. But he was always alone. He could never trust anyone, not even the people he met on the run, because he didn't know if they were with the cops or not. Marcus lived like this for many years, always looking over his shoulder, always fearing that the end was near. He became paranoid and isolated. He missed his family and friends, but he knew he couldn't risk letting them know he was alive. One day Marcus was watching the news on TV when he heard the police talking about the case that had put him on the run. They had labeled him a cop killer and were offering a huge reward for his capture. He realized that he would never be free. He would spend the rest of his life running from the law, packed his bags and disappeared into the night. As the years passed, the police grew weary of the chase. They had spent countless hours and resources trying to catch Marcus, but he always seemed to be one step ahead of them. In the end, Marcus won the ultimate victory. He had outsmarted the police and remained free. But was it really a victory? He had spent the best years of his life on the run, hiding from the authorities and living in fear. He had sacrificed his freedom and his happiness to prove his innocence, and now, looking back, he wondered if it had all been worth it. If you enjoyed this thrilling tale of justice and revenge, I highly recommend checking out our other videos. Each video is a unique story filled with unexpected twists and turns that will keep you on the edge of your seat. So why wait? Click the link in the description below and join the millions of viewers who have already been captivated by our storytelling. Don't miss out on the chance to experience these incredible stories.